Thank you everyone for joining us today at this hopefully lunchtime session that we're running on a February Wednesday afternoon. The weather's very bright and nice here in central London. So if you are working in central London, thank you for joining us rather than spending your time on your lunch break outside in the lovely February weather. So as you know, this is the Early Careers Group CIWEM Chartership webinar. And today you'll be presented to by myself. So my name is Joe. I am the Accreditation and Business Relations Manager here at CIWEM. So a few of you may have met me before. So I do a lot of work on professional development schemes with companies. I accredit a lot of university courses, so engage with students and graduates in particular. I'm joined here today with my colleague Sarah.
Hello. Hi.
So Sarah is our Press and Communications Officer. So she does basically everything that you see from us is Sarah. So she's a very important role. So the new website, the Twitter feed, the Facebook feed, LinkedIn, pretty much everything is from Sarah. So if there was anything you don't like, tell her rather than me. Okay, so the aims of what we're going to be discussing today is in essence to gain a better understanding of what the CIWEM Chartership process involves, particularly focusing around our own qualification, which is the Chartered Water and Environmental Manager status. So that qualification that I'd imagine a few of you have on your radar, maybe working on already, to give you a better understanding of how this works from an internal point of view. Some top tips hopefully for you to find out what the benefits are of becoming professionally recognised with CIWEM. Hopefully later on in the presentation we'll be joined by our CEO Terry Fuller, who a few of you may have met before. Terry himself is actually a fellow of the institution and has been a chartered member for around about 20 years or so. So without his CEO, with his CEO hat kind of off, we can ask him questions, etc. As to the process from his point of view and the benefits it's had on his career. Sorry, I've just got a question. People can't join because the meeting is full. Will you be recording it? We will be recording it. I'm not too sure why it is full. I will have a look into that to see if we can extend the amount of people that we can join in. So we have 124 people here. I will have a look into that whilst we're going on, but I won't let it disrupt the webinar. Saying it's reached 1,000 people, which is not so good. Anyway, we'll carry on. This meeting is being recorded and we'll explain to you in a bit later on how you can get the link to that. So if any of your colleagues are struggling joining the meeting, we will be sending out this, this recording so you can watch it in your own time as well. So the final aim of today is obviously to understand what grade of membership is right for you and if you should be upgrading your membership at any point. There may be a few people on the webinar who may be at the wrong level of membership at this moment in time. So we'll let you know a bit about that as well. So I'm going to hand over to Sarah briefly on what the Young Professionals / Early Careers Group is. We did launch this back in December, so it is a very new group to CIWEM. So I'll hand over to Sarah to explain to you exactly what we're aiming to do and why we've set this up.
Hello. So really, it was an idea set up by Joe. You know, we have a lot of members who are early in their careers or students or have recently graduated, and we felt that we didn't have much to offer them in terms of CIWEM membership. So it's really a space for our early careers / student members to have a space to meet one another, to get some advice for their careers, for professional development, to socialize, a space for us to network and, you know, sort of learn more about one another and learn really, you know, what we want from our careers and from our professional development. We had a kickoff event at the end of last year, which went down really well, and it was just an opportunity for everyone to meet one another and discuss what they would want from the group, what they're interested in. There was a lot of talk about kind of having opportunities to well, do more social events, but also have kind of career advice sessions, and yeah, opportunities to learn about presenting and, you know, about enhancing your membership. And so this is really where the webinar came from, you know, learning about chartership and the benefits of chartership, and, you know, different ways to enhance your career in the water and environment sector. So this is where we are, really.
Great, thanks, Sarah. It's worth noting that originally we kicked the group off as what was called the Young Professionals Group, but we then kind of realised immediately that that probably wasn't the best name for it, because we do get members that have maybe come from a different sector, have joined in at a different stage or a different age. So we are calling it Early Careers Group moving forward. So it isn't to discourage people above the age of kind of 35 to join in on the activities, etc. that we do. So any email you get from us, you are invited. There is no limit. There's no boundaries to who can join in the group sessions. So let's get down to what we're going to be doing today. So today is a membership talk in essence. It will be explaining the different grades of membership and some tips and ways to apply for chartership. So this is us. This is our membership grades. So everywhere from student all the way up to fellow member. I'll be going into a bit more specific detail about each grade in a couple of slides' time. So I'd imagine today we probably have people from student, graduate and non-chartered member, as well as hopefully a few technicians as well. But there has been a new launch of apprentice member as well. For those of you who are at employers, you probably know the prevalence of this at this moment in time. A lot of employers are paying into the apprenticeship levy, so you may be joined with colleagues from apprentice schemes, etc. At these meetings, hopefully in the upcoming months and years as well. We also, on top of our own Chartered Water Environmentalist and Chartered Water Environmental Manager qualification, we have 3 different registrations. So that's with the Society for Environment, which you can apply to become a Chartered Environmentalist with us. You can also become a Chartered Engineer with us through the Engineering Council. And you can also become a Chartered Scientist with us. We are the only professional body that has all 4 of these registrations, obviously including our own as well. We are the only license holder of the 3 of those, which makes us quite an open church for those of you that are looking to join a professional body at these professional grades, these chartered statuses. You don't have to apply for all of these at once. It is very rare that someone would apply for all 4 of these grades of membership. You do have to apply for the Chartered Water Environmental Manager status first and foremost, and then add on the 3 additionals as your career fits. I would advise kind of looking at your job role. If you are an engineer, an environmentalist or scientist, it is worth applying for these additional registrations. It's also worth thinking about where you want to go with your career. So you may want to specifically work in sustainability, for example. So therefore you would be looking to become a chartered environmentalist on top of the Chartered Water Environmental Manager status. So it is worth looking at that when it is thinking about applying for these additional registrations. So I'll go into the nitty-gritty of looking at the different membership grades now and thinking about what membership is right for you at this moment in time. I'd imagine most of you joined on do have a membership grade, whether that be student, graduate, non-chartered member, technician grade, but it would be worth explaining to you in a little bit more detail what these grades means. Should you be upgrading? Are you at the right level at this current moment in time? So first and foremost, we've got graduate membership. I will be missing out student and apprentice member because they are relatively self-explanatory. Student, you're on a full-time degree course in any degree, but you've applied to be a student member through our online portal. Same with apprentice member, you are on a full-time apprentice scheme or even on an EBOSH qualification, and you applied through the membership portal as well. So I'll start off with graduate membership, which the post-nominals are grad CIWEM. So if you are a graduate member at this moment in time, please feel free to use that on your email signature. your LinkedIn, etc. What we require for graduate membership is you have to have got a degree, an honours degree. It can be from any university around the world. It's not just British universities. You can apply literally straight after, the day after you graduate from your university degree. It can be any degree, but you have to have an interest in working in the water and environment sector. We do understand at CIWEM that not everyone goes into their preferred career after graduating university. So if you have graduated through something completely different but do want to work in the water and environment sector, this grade is eligible for you. We also have a technician grade of membership. Now this is for people that have more practical experience in a water or environmental discipline. So it's for people that have got on-the-job learning, maybe haven't gone to university or have an EBOS qualification, for example. It is open to apprentice graduates. So if you are currently on an apprentice scheme, this will be the next step for you. The upgrade for you will be going for CIWEM technician membership. This does involve writing a competence attainment report. There are 14 mandatory competencies for technician grade of membership, which are kind of a light version of the chartered qualification competencies, which we'll be going through with you in a little while. But there isn't an interview with the technician grade of membership. It is just a 4,000 word report on those 14 competencies. We then have the upgrade to non-chartered member. So this is the grade in between graduate and technician and chartered member. Now this is a demonstration of your academic or professional excellence. It shows your employer that you are serious about becoming chartered, that you're on the right level. You have about 3 years experience within the industry. You're nearly at kind of manager level. You're leading or having sections of projects that you are leading on. You're working at more of an operational level. So you've come into your, you've graduated, you've done about 3 years within your job sector. You've moved around a little bit maybe within your company, you've learned the ropes, so to speak, but now you have a specific job title, you may be considered an expert in a few things. This is the grade for you, so non-chartered member, and you can use the post-nominals and CIWEM at the end of your email signature or anywhere you feel fit. We then have chartered member, which is the gold standard, which is probably why most of you are on this webinar to learn a bit more about. So this is CIWEM. This is a qualification. It is a globally renowned qualification. You do not have to be just based in the UK to get this qualification. The only competence that may be holding you back from being an international member of CIWEM and an international charter member is ability to write and read verbal and written English, which hopefully I don't have any questions saying you can't understand a word I'm saying so far in another language, so hopefully all of you on the call do have that level. You can tick that competency off. You must have an honours degree or equivalent experience, i.e. if you have gone through the apprentice/technician grade of membership, that is absolutely fine as well. That is an experiential learning route with us. And you must have around 5 years experience within the sector. Now that can vary depending on when you are really ready to meet the 14 mandatory CIWEM competencies. So usually you would have a mentor go through these competencies with you, and they will sign you off for what's called professional review. I'll go through the process with you a bit more in a couple of slides' time. So it can take you a bit quicker to reach this level of qualification. If you have done a master's degree, for example, that year spent as a master's degree is considered as continuous professional development already. So if you had done a master's degree, you're already 1 year or 2 years, whatever the degree course might have been, on that route towards chartered status. There will be time for a Q&A at the end, so if you aren't too sure whether you're ready for that, there will be details as well at the end for you to send in more specific questions. So if you aren't quite sure if you're at this stage yet, do let us know and we'll be able to make an advisory decision for you. We then have fellow member. Now this is a significant level of experience in a senior role. You've either transferred from charter member or you've been made an honorary fellow. So that's why there's the picture of David Attenborough there. He is an honorary fellow of CIWEM for the work that he's done with environmental protection and I guess water as well. I believe he knows that he's an honorary fellow because he did write back to us, and we do have a signed letter from him pinned up in our office, and we do have his address on our database, so I can locate him at some point in the near future. Right, so we have explained now the different grades of membership. Hopefully that was relatively simple. Again, if you do have any specific questions about any grade of membership, there will be a Q&A at the end, and there will be an email address for you to get in touch with us on. So if anything is a bit confusing at this stage, do ask us at the end, or do send us an email after this webinar is completed. So we're going to get into more specific detail on how you actually apply for Chartership. I always say it's about 5 steps. It might be oversimplistic, and some steps will take you longer than others, but in essence it is 5 steps of actual actions that you have to do. So step 1 is your online application. Step 2 is feedback from the CIWEM team. Step 3 is preparation for a professional review interview. Step 4 is your professional review interview itself, and then step 5 is the feedback from us, the CIWEM team. So I'll go into more detail about these steps now. So step 1, the online application. Now that is a 1,000-word career overview report. What does that mean? Well, that is not your CV. That is you writing down different projects that you have been involved on, different things that in essence makes you eligible to apply for being a chartered water environmental manager, a chartered engineer, a chartered scientist, or a chartered environmentalist, whatever that might be. It is kind of your career highlights that you write down. There is then 14 CIWEM mandatory competencies, and you must write 4,000 words on these. If we have a bit of time at the end, I will show you these competencies. I'd imagine a few of you know them kind of like the back of your hand already. Some of them are more difficult than others. Some of them require more words than others. You do not have to split those 4,000 words divided by 14. You can split them as many ways as you feel fit. There will obviously be some that only require maybe even 10 words, such as ability to write and read in English. If you've done a master's degree, you can just say, I've done an MSc in environmental management at Leeds University, for example. That will count as that competency ticked off. We don't need to hear any more than that. There will be others that may require more detail, such as different projects that you've been working on, your commitment to the environment, etc. That will require more than that. It's worth noting that during the professional review interview, you'll be quizzed on these 4,000 words. So if there is a particular project that you know a lot about, that you've been on, or a particular essence of the environment or water work that you have been involved with, it may be a top tip to actually be a bit light on that section, so that they may quiz you on the review interview. Just a sneaky way to get around some of the questions that the professional reviewers may ask you. You will also be asked to submit your academic qualifications, so your degrees, any other professional body that you may be involved with. So if you are chartered with another professional body or are a member of another professional body, we won't hold that against you. Please put that down because it will weigh in your favour as well. Any CPD that you have done, sorry, that's not on the list. I always forget to include that. So that for CIWEM, for the C.WEM qualification, is 90 hours over 3 years. So that could be 90 hours in just the last year that you've done, but I'd imagine you've got better things to do with your time than all CPD. So it's usually 30 hours a year, I would recommend. CPD is a bit of an ambiguous term in that it can be just about anything really, as long as it's above and beyond your job run, as long as you've taken something away from it. So this hour-long session that we are doing today can be logged as your CPD as well, and any event with the Early Careers group can be counted as your CPD, unless you kind of feel it was complete nonsense. Joe's waffled on for an hour, if you've not learned anything whatsoever, then don't log it. But if you've gone away, you thought, I've learned a few things today, that can be counted as an hour of CPD. If you've gone even further with that and you've kind of made notes, thought about it on the train home from the event, you can log another hour or so, depending on what you've written down after the event. If you are doing a bit of work on a feedback form, for example, it's all about reflective learning. You must also submit your CV. This can be attached as either a PDF or Word document on our online portal, which can be found at ciwem.org. At the top right-hand corner, we'll show you a little bit of the website a bit later on, so you actually know where everything is. So a CV, up-to-date CV, we do understand that this might be outdated by the time that you come in for your professional review interview. You must also have 2 chartered sponsors. Now, these either can be through CIWEM, so they can be a chartered member of CIWEM, or we do have agreements with other professional bodies, so they can be chartered through another institution. So with your employer, if you don't know a fellow CIWEM member, if you don't know a chartered member of CIWEM, you can use a chartered member of the ICE, for example, with other professional bodies in the kind of the same, similar sector. If you don't know anyone whatsoever, do get in touch with us, and we can set you up with what's called the local branch, who run local free events around the year, and we will be able to get you in touch with a fellow mentor and or chartered sponsor through the branch as well. So if you are stumped with anyone that could be your chartered sponsor, do let us know and we'll put you in touch with someone. So that's step 1. So that's probably the most difficult step, because that's actually the whole essence of the whole process. So this may well take you, I know in some cases, years. I would imagine from kind of starting to write your competencies, etc. A lot of employers do put an essence on you doing this as you're going along from when you're a graduate employee. But you can do it if you are kind of 5 years. You could do it in a couple of weeks, for example. It all depends on what your workload's like. If you do have a certain time allocated to this in your job. I do always say that it is good to speak to your line manager and try and get some time set aside during your working life to be able to write all this down, because speaking from myself, I'm a bit lazy out of work. I wouldn't necessarily be wanting to do this in my own time, but it's all personal preference. So if you can go to your line manager and ask them for a bit of time that you can set aside to do this work, then that is actually absolutely fantastic. Step 2, feedback from the CIWEM team. So every single membership application that we get, the team here at Saffron Hill will review and offer advice and guidance on your application if it does not meet the requirements of PRI. So they may get back to you saying, yeah, well, everything's good, here's your PRI date. That will be around about 2 months from when you submit your application. You'll get your professional review interview. If not, if there's kind of a few things missing, we don't feel you have quite the necessary experience, do not worry, because we will tell you kind of how many more years you might need, when you should be applying, and top tips of what you should be looking for in your next application. Step 3, all going well, you'll be invited for a professional review interview. That will predominantly be held at our London office here in Farringdon. We are looking to regionalise this as well this year, so there may be a hub in Belfast, for example, Edinburgh, Glasgow as well, so that you don't have to travel down for this. There is also the ability to be able to either Skype or Zoom into this virtually, so you don't necessarily have to come down in person. So it's about preparing for this professional review interview, and you'll have around 2 months to do so. The reviewers do understand that your job role may have changed, and you may be involved in a different project in those 2 months as well. So don't feel threatened to not bring examples from those 2 months. Step 4, your actual professional review interview. So you'll be sat down in front of 3 interviewers. They will ask questions surrounding your background, so your CV, your job titles, etc., and the application, so your 1,000-word career overview report, your CPD log, and the 4,000 words that you've written on our 14 mandatory competencies. You must also prepare a 10-minute presentation on a project that you have been working on. Now, the term project is a bit ambiguous, because we do understand that not every job role is involved with specific projects. Now, this can be a university project that you have done, a dissertation, for example, that you've done. It can be a volunteer work that you've done, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole project that you've been in from start to completion. It can be a project support that you've given. It can be a desk-based research project that you've done. So the term project is very loose as well. Step 5 will be feedback from the CIWEM team. So hopefully you'll all be doing this dance that Bart Simpson is doing on your screen now. You'll all be celebrating that you've got your chartered qualification. If for whatever reason it has not gone according to plan, you will receive feedback from the CIWEM team informing you why a certain decision has been made by the assessor panel, and you will get pointers as to why or why not that you have not been successful, and you will be able to reapply within a certain time period as well. So top tips from us really is to be self-confident. This is about what you have achieved, not what your company has achieved. So be a bit arrogant even. Use the word I relatively liberally. Be arrogant, but not too arrogant. The interviewers will want to like you. Be prepared. The interviewers will pick up on anything that you have left out in your application. So even on the train down to the interview, do have a look at the latest environmental news because they like to be engaged with what you talk about. So be a bit innovative with that. The panel have probably been there for 2 days. If you're the last one that they've seen, it is good to kind of be as charismatic as you possibly can with them. And be chatty. The panel will like to talk about these current environmental issues. They are top level professionals. They are all chartered with us, have been for at least 5 to 6 years as well. So they may be kind of the status at director level, etc. So they are on the top of their field. They know what they're talking about. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a CIWEM reviewer with us. We do rigorously assess who we appoint to be assessor. It isn't me that will be in your interview, because I'd probably be there with a rubber stamp putting everyone through, and that just wouldn't work. So I've told you how to become chartered, but why become chartered? So probably not worth asking me, so let's ask some of our members. Now, you're probably sick of my voice, so I'm going to ask Sarah to read these out to get some something else in there.
So we've just given 2 examples of some member profiles, as you can see, quite different. So our first one is Fazal Saeed, who has his C.WEM, and he's also, well, he has all 3 external registrations. And he's just said, I am deeply aware of the value of being professionally qualified and of the high regard in which this is held by employers. I felt professional registration as C.WEM would demonstrate continuity in learning and development, providing an excellent framework to build and establish professional competence. And then we have Sarah Roberts, who just has her Chartered Water and Environmental Manager. The C.WEM qualification recognises my competency, skills and commitment to the environment. The work I undertake on multidisciplinary environmental and engineering projects closely aligns with CIWEM's diverse environmental sectors. It was natural to aim for C.WEM accreditation, as one of my specialisms is the water environment. Being chartered means being recognised as part of a worldwide renowned, respected institution.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So now we have just been joined by Terry Fuller, who is our CEO. So we'll open the floor to Terry, and if you do have any specific questions for Terry, there should be a chat box. So please write in that, and after we get his view on why you become chartered, how it's helped his career, etc. We'll open the floor for some questions. We'll read some out. If you do have any specific for Terry about the chartership process, etc., do feel free to fire away. Myself and Sarah will be reading them out, and if we can't help you today, we will record that, or do send us an email after the webinar if you can't think of anything at this moment in time, and we'll get back to you. So I'll open the floor to Terry now, who will be saying his experience on how he became chartered, however many years ago that was, Terry, and how it's helped your career, how you've got to the level you've been. Terry used to work for Jacobs for a number of years, so maybe explain kind of your career and when you became chartered, Terry.
Yes, great. Thank you very much, Joe. Yes, it was quite some time ago, about 20 years ago, that I became chartered. And it's certainly one of the best things I ever did for my career. When I was back in consultancy, it was extremely important to have that qualification and that to peer recognition, and it became increasingly so as I started to develop and advance in my career, to the point where for the various bidding activities that my employer was undertaking on some really high profile and interesting projects, there was a requirement to work in certain roles on those projects to actually be chartered. And I think that requirement is becoming increasingly prevalent. If you look at some of the big exciting projects like HS2 in the UK and some of the big projects that are going on in the Middle East at the moment, clients were requiring the people being put forward for those roles and the key roles on them to be chartered. So it certainly opened up opportunities for me there. It was also very much the beginning of a journey, becoming chartered. It provided me with structure. So the discipline of looking at the core competencies established a structure, and then the CPD, the continual professional development that followed from that, enabled me to get into a mindset and a discipline of continual learning, growth and development. So I think it's very important from that point of view. But my final point, and one which I hope people perhaps recognise the most, is that I just had, to be blunt, I had more fun out of my career. I had more enjoyment. I learnt things. I had a more stimulating, rewarding career. I met and continue now to enjoy a good network of colleagues that I can share ideas and thoughts with, as a result of being a chartered member of this institution. And I think that's really important. We can get very caught up, I think, in qualifications and the procedural side of things. But just to be able to say, looking back at the last 20 years or so, that I've had a very much more fulfilling career as a result of being chartered. And the opportunities ahead of me now are increased manyfold by being chartered. I think that's something I'd like anyone that's considering this to think very carefully about.
Great, thank you, Terry. We'll now open this up to the participants of the webinar. If you do want to write any questions, we do have a chat box. I don't know how you'd see it on your end. So we do have a few questions already. So we have one from Lucy. How often do they do a call for chartership? I think there's one this month, but when is the next one? I'd assume that's for a professional review interview, how often the professional review interviews are. So I believe they are every month, and they are increasing as well. So thanks for that, Lucy. We have one from Isabel. Does a master's qualification count as a year of experience for the non-chartered member application, or is it only for the chartered member application? So yes, a master's qualification does count as a year of experience for the non-chartered member application as well. So do use that in weight of your non-chartered member application. We do consider a master's qualification as already continuous professional development. So that is, you're kind of already on your journey if you are doing a master's, in particular if it has been accredited by CIWEM as well, is also a benefit for you in weight of your professional review interview when that eventually comes around. So that is fantastic. Anyone else have any questions at this moment in time? Yep, Matt. MCIWEM seems a strange level. Why wouldn't you just go for chartership from graduate? Well, good question, Matt. I'll probably ask Terry that one.
Yes, I think that's a really good question, and the answer is that the benefits of being a member of this institution are that we provide you with specific support to actually gain your chartership qualification, and as a member grade of CIWEM, the opportunities that you have to participate in various of our panels, various activities, being invited to perhaps speak at events, etc. Those opportunities are increased as a result of being at a member grade. So as part of your journey to demonstrate your core achievements against your core competencies, you'll get far more opportunity to do that as a member grade than you would as a graduate.
So thanks, Terry. We have another question. How long should CV be and what would you expect it to cover? I'm conscious I have various versions from 3 to 10 pages with various project experience, which are used for bidding for projects. So your CV should really be kind of highlights of your career. The reason for the 1,000 word career overview report is to go in a bit more detail about that. So do use kind of a shorter version of your CV, more of a biography when applying for chartership, and you can use the 1,000 word career overview report to go into more project experience that you may use for bidding for projects if you are at a consultancy, for example. We have one from Bradley. Would the postgraduate experience have to be directly related to the water industry, i.e. would research, so a PhD in area of wider geomorphology / earth sciences be okay? Absolutely, Bradley. That is absolutely fine. Those are even quite related to what we do at CIWEM as well. I've met a gentleman who's done a law PhD, and that's worked very much in his favour when applying for chartership, as they made great experience. So the essence of continuous professional development, it doesn't necessarily have to be related to the specific, as long as you're learning in your job role and utilising those skills. We've had charter members come from, they started their career as primary school teachers, and they've been able to tick off some of their competencies directly from the experience they've got with managing under 10s football team, for example. So it's all relevant. Do CIWEM hold many CPD events / lectures? Yes, we do. I believe we actually counted them the other day. It was over 200, wasn't it?
Not as many as 200, 120 events broadly per year that CIWEM hold, which count towards CPD. So that's the combination of the events that we run from the central team here, as well as the events that take place in all of our branches around the UK and in various parts of the world. And in total, it's about 120 or so. And something we are working hard on at the moment is making those 120 events more accessible through use of webinar technology such as this, so that wherever you're located in the world, you'll have a broader access to CPD events going forward.
Great stuff. What activities are at the Early Careers group meeting? We'll go through that in a bit at the end of the webinar, just to say what's coming up. What are the requirements to attain CIWEM grade? Now that is an application, but it doesn't have specific competencies. So that's about submitting a career overview report as well. I don't believe it's competency based. It's just around 3 years experience we would recommend for the CIWEM grade. It's
experientially based. Yeah. You're quite right, Joe. And just to go back to the earlier question about why go to CIWEM grade, not go straight from graduate to chartership. I think the other point there is that once you have reached that level of experience, to become an CIWEM grade, which is broadly 3 years, that obviously depends on the quality of experience. That's a really positive recognition to your peers and your employer of your progress. So if you're not quite ready to make your chartership submission, but you've reached that CIWEM grade, it's a real opportunity to demonstrate that and use the post-nominal qualification of CIWEM.
Great stuff. Will you be talking about the 14 competencies later on? I will go through that quickly with you on how to apply on our website, etc. So I will go through those. I won't be talking about them so specifically because we are running a webinar series about the competencies specifically and grouping those up. So do look out for emails and on our website for the details of that. Does obtaining CIWEM before going for full charter status count in your favour during the application process? I believe very much so. It does in some way.
Yes, I mean it doesn't in that it wouldn't sway the decision at all. The decision is very much a competency-based assessment, and it wouldn't sway that. But one of the core competencies is about demonstrating commitments to continued learning and also to the institution, and obviously having taken that step to move from a graduate grade into an CIWEM grade, you're demonstrating commitment to your continual learning, your progress, and also to the institution.
Good stuff. Does a year in industry in the water sector also count towards experience and CPD? Certainly towards experience. If it has been part of your job role, not necessarily, you couldn't log it as how many ever hours a year CPD would be, but you can use kind of the events and above and beyond your job role stuff that you have done in that time. So how do CIWEM consider masters that are not formally accredited by ourselves? We do still consider those on par if they have been accredited by another institution. It just means that you're on the progress towards chartership with CIWEM, a bit more streamlined if you have obtained a master's degree that has been accredited by us. Following the interview, how long is the wait for feedback? Around 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how many people we've interviewed, really. Do you have any tips for the 10-minute presentation during the professional interview? Terry, do you want to get on?
Yes, well, I think that the main tip is that you talk in the first person. You're very much selling your experience. And I've seen on occasions people falling into the trap of using their 10 minutes to describe very eloquently the project that they worked on, but they missed the opportunity to describe their particular involvement in it, what they learned from it, both good and bad, and take the opportunity to demonstrate how you comply with the 14 core competencies. So that would be my top tip on that.
Do I need a master's degree to become chartered, or is a bachelor's degree sufficient, provided I meet all the other criteria? For CIWEM, CM and CSci, that is correct. Bachelor's degree is sufficient, provided you meet all the other criteria. If you are looking at applying for a chartered engineer, the Engineering Council's line is that it has to be an accredited master's MEng degree. However, if you are thinking of that qualification but don't have an accredited MEng, do get in touch with us and we will kind of do a bit of the legwork on that, because there is an experiential learning route surrounding that. Are professional interviews held at any other location other than London? It is something that we are looking at. We are looking to regionalise. At this moment in time, they are all in London, but you also have the opportunity to be able to Skype or Zoom in virtually as well, so you don't necessarily have to come all the way down to London. For that, we get a lot of applications around the world who obviously won't be flying in from Australia or wherever that may be. How do I upgrade my membership to CIWEM? So that's all done online. I'll go through, after I get through these questions on the online portal, and show you how to use that. So that will be an online application up to CIWEM from either graduate or student membership. Does postgraduate experience count if the course was not completed? You can definitely probably use it in your favour in terms of the stuff that you've been doing on that course, but obviously won't be able to count it as a qualification. If my company funds one chartership with CIWEM, does this include the additional registrations, i.e. chartered scientist? That is probably a question for your company rather than us. I'd imagine so, because I think the add-ons only.
Yeah, well, it typically does,
yeah,
because you'll receive one membership invoice from us that includes all of the registrations. So it's not unusual for a company to pick up the bill of the membership fee plus anything up to 4 of the other registrations that we offer.
Great stuff. And when is the next deadline for submitting CIWEM? I believe coming up, it will be on our website, so I'll have a quick look for that as well. Is it the same to become CIWEM member if you are not currently a graduate member? So you can apply for CIWEM without being a graduate member. You can come straight in at CIWEM depending on kind of the experience that you have got. So I think that's it for the questions for now. Do feel free to keep typing away, and I'll try and get as many as I can in by the end of the webinar. I'll just show you our website and how to actually apply online now. Sorry, that's the slide I should have done before. So as you know, we have a new website. So how to, just move our step there. How do you apply online? So it's relatively simple. So you either go on the membership tab, We do have a find your grade, so if I have confused you somewhat today or you want more information, do have a look on our website. There is all the grades there that you can read more on. To apply, you just go up to the top here. It's called My CIWEM. So this is your members portal. It takes you here. I'll just log into my account. Okay, so this is your members portal. Excuse the picture of Fireman Sam there. So to apply online, it's relatively straightforward. So it's just the top right there, online application process. So if you already have an account, which probably most of you are already members on this webinar, you may start your application here. What type of membership are you applying for? So these are our different grades of membership. So if you're coming straight in at non-chartered member or want an upgrade, you just click on non-chartered member there. I'll have a look at the chartered member section there. So once you go on this, there is an application guidance there. All our mandatory competencies guidance can be found here as well, and even guidance for the professional view, all downloadable as a PDF. And then it's relatively self-explanatory. So you put in your qualifications, your sponsors, any membership of other professional bodies. Your areas of interest is good to tick because that will highlight to you what kind of sector you want to be receiving news about if you sign up on GDPR for our emails, etc., your CV, other supporting documentation. You put your career overview report, your 1,000 words there, and then we've got your mandatory competencies here. So your CIWEM mandatory competencies, these are split into, I think, A, B, C, D, and E. So A1, knowledge of wider environmental issues and trends, ability to develop strategies or plans to address changes in your sector. And then B is more analysing and evaluating environmental and or water problems, ability to solve problems, etc. I won't go too much into detail about these because there will be another webinar series about them. I don't want to waste the last 10 minutes going into each competency when I see we've got a lot of questions firing away. My word of advice just on the application portal is to do this necessarily on a Word document separate rather than typing it in as you go along and then copying and pasting your answers in at the end. They do save on there, but I just think for user easiness, it's better to do it on a separate document. We then also have the additional registrations that you can apply for as well at the same time. Right, we have about 10 minutes left, and I saw about 26 questions come up, so I'll go through a few of those now. Said we can't see your browser. Okay, right, that's why there was a lot of flashing. Okay, sorry everyone. I'll just go through that again. You've heard what I said, so to get on your members area, you just go up the top to My CIWEM there. And then it goes into your members area here. So if you're all logged in, you'll go in there. On the top right is your online application process. You already have an account, start your application here. And you choose what grade of membership you apply for. So let's go for chartered member. And then there it's all pretty self-explanatory. You can download guidance. Your mandatory competencies are here. As I said, my top tip, rather than writing these out, would be to have an additional document to do this and then paste them in as you go along. They do save, but just for user easiness, they do expand as well, I believe. But just for user easiness, it is better to do it that way. You can apply for the additional registrations along the top there. Hope everyone could see that version of it. If you apply for other accreditations, is there an additional cost per accreditation? If you apply for them together or separately, there is an additional cost, but I believe this is quite a nominal cost. I think it's about 30 £30 to apply for an additional registration.
Yeah, I think the point there, though, is that notwithstanding the costs, it's a lot more efficient to make the application at the same time, because the interview might be extended a little bit, but it certainly isn't multiples of the number of registrations that you go for. So there is definite advantage in making the applications at the same time.
So I'll just take us back onto. Great, thank you again. Do you submit paper copies of the relevant documents as well as an online version via members area? No, just online. We did used to do all paper, but we are an environmental charity as well, so just online, please. If a master's degree counts for 1 year CPD, how long will a PhD degree be counted for? PhD degree does count as CPD as well, so however many years that counts, and we do count PhD as a form of working as a job title as well, and it may be that you have industry experience on your PhD as well. Just a lot of people telling me about the PowerPoint presentation being shown, not the screen. Hopefully I've rectified that. Okay. So does anyone else have any questions about what we've discussed today whatsoever?
I did just see a question flash past about branch events on the website, which I think is important.
Yeah, I'll put the share back on the website, and I'll show you how to get involved actually with branch events, etc.
The aim is that we have all branch events advertised on the website, but there's some missing at the moment because we're still awaiting some information to come through. But it is a matter of perhaps checking very regularly on the events site where you can be sharing this.
Yeah, I hope everyone can see this.
Put location into there, and the branches from which we do have a program, their events will be displayed on there.
So that's how you do it. Find out more. Cost free to attend, and you just book now. So if you are in the Hampshire region on 27th of March, go along.
I just wanted to make another point about a few people were asking about the next upcoming PRO days. So if you click on the membership tab of the website and scroll down to the bottom, all the way down, we have a box called application guidance, sorry, just there. Yeah, and if you click on that, we have a few different tabs, including information, if you scroll down on that, including application schedule, which will show you when the upcoming dates are.
So yeah, this shows you the time frame. So for example, if you were to apply within 5 days, that's our next application deadline on the 25th of February. Your application will then be reviewed by the CIWEM team on the 12th of March, and following on from that, you'll then have about a month to prepare for your professional review interview on either the 11th or 12th of April 2019. I'll just go through a couple more questions. How do I find information about those events? Terry mentions my location isn't an option for that events drop down. Will it appear soon, or is there a local contact I can get in touch with?
So the best thing to do for that is to click on the communities tab on the top of the website, which has a full list of all of our, if you scroll down, yeah, it has a full list of all of our branches, and then you can choose your region and go via that way. And if there aren't any events at the moment, it's always worth clicking the Contact Us button, and you can email us and ask for any upcoming activities.
Great stuff. Let's see if there's any last ones. If applying for several registrations, are they assessed individually or together? They will be assessed together, but there will be specific questions asked about either your CIWEM or CEng or whatever that might be. It will be done all in the same interview. Would it potentially be possible to apply for CIWEM status after half year in the water industry if somebody has a master's degree / PhD? I'd imagine you would be eligible for that grade of membership after completing a PhD as well. A lot of people do get to charter level pretty quickly after completing a PhD. And then from Hannah, how can we get involved in the early careers group? Now that is a good question to end it all on. So next steps for the careers group. I'll put the share back on to the presentation. Let's flip through that real quick. So please contact membership@CIWEM.org if you do have any ideas for events of the early careers group. There is now a page on our website that we highlighted earlier. I'll show you that right after. What we are now planning to do is planning a series of local events in different regions, similar to the one that we did in December, kind of networking events, and then we will be taking your ideas in-house and then producing more webinars, etc. So if you do have any specific event ideas, webinar ideas, do get in touch with membership@CIWEM.org. That will then be passed on to myself and Sarah, who will hopefully action these and be running these events out and about. If you are at a company that has an office regionally and they have office space, that will be fantastic if you get in touch with us as well and letting us know where that is. So I'll show you the website page again, just to show you where all the information will be. So if you go on to membership and then find your grade. So if you go into graduate member, for example, there we are. So we will be sending this link out to everyone. The webinar will hopefully appear at a link at the bottom of the page there, and we will keep you updated on any events, etc. But hopefully you joined this because you received an email from us, and we'll continue to send you emails and updates as and when they become available. Right, so thank you everyone for joining us and taking your lunchtime out. We all hope that you found it beneficial. If you do have any questions, please do get in touch with membership@CIWEM.org. If you have any ideas about future webinars, future events, we will be doing specific webinars on the competency, so sorry that we didn't go into those into a bit more detail. But thank you for taking the time out, and all the best for the rest of your week, and we hope to see you at an early careers group very soon.